Send a powerful message to those people who live in the past and tell them no more business as usual and no more repeat performances because we're going to make America great again.
Hey everyone, welcome once again to yet another episode of Two Noobs Talking. With me, of course, is my regular co-host who recently just introduced me to the fine game of American chess, John. John Tracy, of course. John, how you doing, man? What's going on?
What's up, man? I have an obsession with bullets.
I see that. I mean, the 50 caliber's got to be your king piece, right? I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, 44 caliber is probably your queen, whatever. So, yeah. You also got to watch out for those AR-15s as far as you really got to watch out.
We can't talk about this too often.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to cut that right now. Of course, I'm Matt Craig. We're really happy you're with us. Well, John, it's episode 44 of Two Noobs Talking. We're getting closer to that magic number of 50.
Yep.
But we got some major numbers to run off, don't
Our
we?
Jamie Moyer episode, by the way. I'll just throw that out now.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Remember that later.
Yeah.
He won us a title.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got 44. We got Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
One of my personal favorites, and our other co-host Steve. I think he likes him too. Yanni Nienema.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Him.
I would say even I would say this generation's Eric Desjardins for the Flyers. That Wolf 44, Kimmo Timonen.
Absolutely.
You know, a great defenseman in his own right. Absolutely. In a Finnish kind of way. No, okay.
I think someone said that last night.
Exactly. Someone in pre-production. I don't know. Vicente Padilla also came to my mind last night.
Padilla Flotilla? One of the
Flotilla, yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly. Him along with Randy Wolf, right? But I always feel bad, right, for those players that were right before the championship run. I mean, that's got to be just so frustrating as a competitor. Because you're building to that moment, and then all of a sudden you get traded.
You're one of the guys that gets traded for the piece that wins the title.
That wins the title? It's like, oh, man.
But they were loved. They were all loved.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So we're really happy you're with us. And as always, we, of course, have a lot going on tonight. We've got an in-depth analysis on that quack that's masquerading as a doctor and these ridiculous CDC mask mandates for this Delta variant that doesn't exist, even though they say it does, even though it's a faulty...
But they also say it doesn't. But they
exactly. So we're going to go
more
into
deadly
that.
than chicken pox, or it spreads further than chicken pox. I know, it's ridiculous.
I don't know what to even think about this anymore. We also have an article.
I like how 250,000 people became doctors overnight. That's what this coronavirus thing's amazing.
It really is.
Everybody on Facebook's a doctor now. It's great.
Who would have ever thought? Instead of actually,
I'm glad they completed their degrees and everything and got to it. Awesome.
Everyone is an epidemiologist, John. That's how it all started back in the day. We're going to try and sort through that. We have an opinion piece on whether or not Ronnie Jackson, who was a former presidential medical advisor, believes that the current president, the used car salesman, will resign or not during his first term.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a look at that. We also found a really good, simple, straightforward, average citizen speech from, as Justin Roberts would like to say, North Carolina. So we're going to go over that with, I
love that man and his speech. I thought he said it well. He 100%. Said what was in my brain.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're going to see more and more of that come out.
I hope so.
With other people as well. I, of course, got really, not necessarily PO'd, but definitely ticked at this so-called pastor that really made a stupid comment this week. And that kind of just led me to think about, well, there are some good pastors that are in the United States. Absolutely. I'm going to present that list. But first, John, as we always do, we have our Fab Five segment, our Rogues Gallery. And like Batman over there, over my right shoulder, we're here to kick their butts.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to lead off here with this Axios piece that we found, that essentially the Biden Department of Justice, emphasis on the word Biden administration, will not...
Not like Trump's DOJ did much either.
Exactly.
But...
Exactly.
Scotland suit.
they will not investigate the nursing home deaths in New York, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. All three, of course, highlighted by governors that are
Yes.
part of our Fab Five. The Department of Justice has decided not to launch a civil rights investigation into whether policies in New York, Pennsylvania, and Michigan contributed to pandemic deaths in nursing homes. And of course, Rebecca Falconer, or Falconer, I should say, who wrote this piece on July 25th, says, why does it matter? Well, the Trump DOJ requested data from the 3 states, plus New Jersey. So, Phil Murphy,
Yep.
you thought you were going to get away? The data was requested last August amid still unanswered questions as to whether some states, especially New York, inadvertently worsened the pandemic death toll by requiring nursing homes to accept residents previously hospitalized with COVID. And of course, that has now been shut down. Steve Scalise said Friday that it wouldn't open any investigation, or wouldn't investigate, I should say, any public nursing facility within New York, Pennsylvania, or Michigan at that time. He described the decision not to open the investigation as shameful and accused the DOJ of being complicit in these Democrat governors' cover-ups. Spot on.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I 100% agree, because we've covered the Cuomo stuff, that the DOJ released that report and the numbers weren't the same as what the New York Health was. It's corruption 101. It's Fab 5 101.
Fab 5 101.
We're not going to investigate these deaths that maybe inflated which we know it did. It totally these states forcibly killed people to make coronavirus seem worse than it was at first. Yeah. That's what we know. That's full, cold, hard facts from what we've learned. They inflated numbers with the elderly.
Yeah. And you don't even have to look very far. We did an in-depth, probably our most in-depth investigation when we looked at that 242-page report by the New York Department of Health. And essentially, their own attorney general up there basically was calling out Cuomo and saying, you better not undercount this going forward. That's being kind.
Yeah.
But really, criminal charges, this is not going to go away. They think it may go away now, but come 2022, 2024, when all of this is well past us, we will get to the bottom of this 100%.
Oh, absolutely. And that's I hope and pray for that every day, that us as citizens really unite and take these scumbags out, because it's obvious.
Yeah.
At this point, how scummy this mob is. The DOJ flat out comes out in a letter. Yeah. The letter will be linked in the show notes. It's in the article, in the Axios Piece article. The letter is actually, I have the letter.
Yep.
You can read it. He literally puts a memo out no, we're not touching this. There's no need to. We don't think there's anything suspicious going on.
It really is amazing. Further on in that Axios piece, Johnny, I have it here in front of me. It's basically saying that as I mentioned before, the Attorney General of New York, who is herself a Democrat, basically said, accusing the Cuomo administration of undercounting coronavirus deaths in nursing homes by up to 50%.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
50.
Yeah.
That, and of course Cuomo's like, well, there's nothing wrong with our accuracy. We're spot on accurate. Of course, they've also been, the New York Times just I think it was last week, wasn't it? We were going through in episode 43. We saw, or I think it was 42. We saw that they were kind of like, well, how accurate are the death toll? Is the death toll up there?
The Times calling people out.
The New York Times was calling them out, and it's like, are you kidding me?
They won't even call the Mets out for bad managing.
Exactly. This is
calling him out. That's insane to me.
That is, That is, because I think they know, and down the road, we saw going all the way back to episode 8, with the New York Times tracker of the coronavirus and how it was like at 22-23%. I'm thinking, no way,
No way,
no way. So yeah, we're hoping that I mean, if the DOJ doesn't investigate this, and they're not going to, clearly we'll need a new DOJ, unfortunately, in order to get down to the bottom of this, because they need to be held to account.
New administration.
Yeah, no question about it.
They don't seem to do anything.
Yeah, and the sad part is that it might just be, I hope it doesn't get lost. I hope you and I keep this up over the next 3 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's good people out there that won't let this die. So that's it's disturbing, and that's why we want to lead on. It's the reverse to the Fab Five where we get the trash on them. It's a disturbing news that the Biden administration is just along with them.
Yeah,
it's not. Well, it is Joe's fault. Everything's Joe's fault, just in my mind. But this is another scumbag DOJ in charge of scumbag stuff, doing scumbag stuff, and just the American people ain't watching. Just put this one in the shredder.
Yeah,
and they'll forget about it because they're on their iPhones on that TikTok app.
Yeah, that we brought back for them. Yeah,
that's how they act.
Yeah,
act like we're not watching.
Yeah,
and the problem is we are watching.
We are watching very closely and intently. So we are not Batman over here just for that reason. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I don't even want to name the DOJ because I can't remember his name because he's that irrelevant.
Yeah.
He's Biden's DOJ.
Yeah. I don't even know who that person
probably
is.
Captain Crunch.
Probably.
If you think about it, most
probably.
likely is Captain Crunch.
It probably is. Yeah. Yeah, it could be the Three Rice Krispies.
I wouldn't have that dude handling his affairs. Totally.
Yeah, speaking of a bureaucrat, my friend, I mean, we all just launched into this quack. For our second topic. And
scumbag alert. It should come on the screen as soon as Matt starts talking about him. Matt, please read this PBS News article.
This is just unbelievable. The headline, Dr. Fauci on CDC's reimposed mask guidelines, vaccine requirements, and GOP criticism. Anywho,
brief.
I mean, this is just unbelievable by PBS, but I shouldn't expect nothing less from that organization, to be perfectly honest with you, Johnny. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, reimposed stricter mask-wearing guidelines on Tuesday, of course, this week. It said Americans, even if fully vaccinated, which I happen to be fully vaccinated, should wear masks indoors. Well, I guess I must be not doing that, even though I'm indoors in my own home.
Yeah.
Where COVID infections are high. And
which they are.
Recommended that everyone in K-12 schools mask up.
Yep.
Dr. Quack.
Scumbag.
Anthony Fauci, director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. I think that should say it right then and there, right?
You mean the NIH that was funding the Wuhan lab?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Well, apparently he joined Judy Woodruff, and Judy Woodruff has got to be like 965 years old. I don't know how long she has lived, but she must be around forever.
And Dr. Fauci doesn't miss a media. He's confirmed for Two Noobs Talking.
Mm-hmm.
I would never interview him.
No. It goes on, this entire ridiculous interview. Basically just skipping down through this whole thing here. Fauci says this, well, they talk about substantial in terms of, they came out with this ridiculous red color, orange color, which all happens to be in the South where no mask mandates are. So that this is 100% political. It is not scientifically based. It is all 100% political.
I mean, not to go down the rabbit hole, but didn't they do that same thing with the terror alert?
Pretty much, yeah.
The same thing?
Yeah.
It seems like they probably just pulled out the terror alert, scratched it off, and did coronavirus.
Scratched it off.
That's how this government works.
That's how this government works. Exactly. Substantial. That means either 50 to 99.9 cases per 100,000, John. Wow, that's substantial. What is that? I mean, that's got to be like 0.0001%. I got to do the math on that.
I think you're right. I mean, if it might be 0.2, but
yeah, I'm gonna have to like pull this up. But I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. 50 into 100,000. I'm just doing this right here on my calculator. That, ladies and gentlemen, is this, and I'm just showing this on screen for our listeners. It's 0.0005%.
Oh, so we're off 3.
Well, at least it's not, 0.1%, John. It's only 0.00005%. It's only a fraction.
Yeah, a life lost is a life lost. So we can't really be,
of course
too comical about it. But that is a minuscule number. That's a minuscule number.
Exactly.
If someone stole that from somebody's bank account, they wouldn't even notice it because they actually do steal that kind of stuff from your bank account all the time with charges that are more than that.
Exactly. I think it's called the ATM fee. Yeah, exactly.
It'd be better if they stole that amount.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It kind of reminds me of that old movie Office Space where they're trying to steal fractions of a penny and that didn't quite work out. I mean, that was the greatest.
Great movie.
That was a great movie. But Fauci's saying this: when you have a high level, it's greater than 100 cases per 100,000. Greater than 100 cases per 100,000. I want to repeat that: greater than 100 cases per 100,000.
100 people.
That is considered to be substantial.
Okay.
We could do the math on that. I'll just do that. Let's say 100 into.
So that's a little bit.
That is
more,
this 0.001%.
So a little bit more than 50. So we're talking 68% because the link would hold 68,000 people, correct? Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's probably about a 70 to 80,000. Think Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl holds about 100,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
If they have if it's the Rose Bowl, January 1st or whatever, it used to be in the Super Bowl. I still think it should be going back there.
I agree.
But yeah, 100,000 would be about a Rose Bowl. So you're talking.
It would be 100 people.
100 people in a Rose Bowl. 100 people.
And if they're spread out, I'm gonna bring in the okay. So if they're spread out. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, section 100, section 375, row, 5.
And we're talking close quarters, so maybe that infection would rise if you're thinking about the Rose Bowl.
Well, there is one thing. It is outdoors, so all air goes up. So I would would think it would be all right.
But it's possible that you could model, and what I'm asking is you can model an infection.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
that's one way to model an infection.
Right. And
take the amount
mathematically theorize, like we are doing. We are mathematically theorizing that, there could be an infectious spread, but there could also be other factors, like wind and other things.
And just so everybody knows, at 12 feet up, there's an atmosphere change. So when it goes up, it changes.
It changes.
It's simple. The atmosphere change. It's not what you up there.
Yeah.
Very. Not to sound like being a dick, but up there, like 12 feet up there, different wind.
Different, yeah.
Anybody been on a ladder?
Just slightly, yeah.
It just changes, yeah.
Yeah, it does, yeah. I can go to, basically, it's like, essentially, I've got a neighbor above me and then a neighbor above that. So that's what we're kind of talking about. That's, 12 feet.
So in Fauci's thing, so if you get coronavirus and you go out on your deck.
Oh, you're going to get it no matter what. I don't care what he says.
No, if you cough up, that dude at the top
he'll get it.
He's going to get it.
He will 100% get it, according to Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
100% get it. No question about it. I have no doubt in my mind. We're making light of this because, one, he's a quack. But further on in this ridiculous interview, Judy Woodruff basically asks Fauci point blank, we now see pushback from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He's saying that this CDC guideline release is not based in science.
No.
He says, and I'm quoting, no indication. There's no indication that areas with mask mandates have performed any better than areas without them.
I would agree with him.
And I would agree with him. We've done our own research in that, of course. We have the Swiss policy research. We've also pulled up and when you go there and you pull up the individual articles, you will find studies and cases where they have done very extensive studies, I would say, John.
Oh, absolutely. Just don't post it on Facebook because it's
yeah, it might be, yeah,
it's,
it might,
it's false
we have to
information.
double check with the fact checkers, but these independent fact checkers that no one has ever seen before. But in any event, we've looked at these studies, right? And we have seen the absolute best case scenario is that there is no change whatsoever. So even if you put a mask on or if you take it off, there is no significant changes at all.
We personally know people, which will not be named, that did everything right. Just like that Biden freak out. You guys can find that on the news where he was challenged about the mask mandate and freaked out.
Yeah.
But we know people that got COVID that did everything right.
Yeah. But they also bounce back from it.
Yeah.
Because that's what immune systems
do. That's thankfully. Also, just to touch on another article, there's a Just the News article that's in the it's going to be in the show notes of a inquisitive Bongino ran it, which is great. So if you're a fan of Dan Bongino and you like his humor, you should have him represent this article. But this article is great. It literally says the CDC is using a study that was rejected.
Yeah.
A mask study.
That might be a problem.
Rejected. Somebody changed it to revise and they ran with it.
Yeah.
They're not quite sure who did. I mean, the CDC being corrupt, someone in the CDC probably did it.
Well, they probably stepped in and prevented something like, a failed. Oh, we got to prevent that because they are the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So they definitely prevented that mistake from, really kind of getting out there. Oh, we got to change this to revise real quick.
If you want to get really geeky like I do, that study rejected one is in there, and also the revised copy. Because they're, because you can just
gotta cover
science whenever the hell you want.
Yeah, exactly.
It's totally in that article. So if you want to read that failed mask study that the CDC is trying to tell you that you need to mask up your kids again when they go to school, you can totally find that.
Yeah. Just to also wrap up the point with DeSantis, when given the opportunity, now this is a golden opportunity. I want to make this very clear. Woodruff is basically saying the conservatives, Dr. Fauci, you quack, you moron, you are basically being confronted by a conservative governor who is saying your science is terrible. Your science sucks, to be perfectly honest. There's no justification for it. None. Yeah. His response, yes, I just think that doesn't necessarily prove the point that he's making. We do know that the science shows now that even people who are vaccinated and get a breakthrough infection can transmit. How is that possible when an immune system kicks in and defeats the virus?
Well, that's the whole
point. You stupid quack doctor.
He's so bad. He's so dumb.
We want to keep the school. We're saying the country does. The CDC makes the recommendations, the local school areas make the decision. So punt to the local schools.
Yeah, basically you make people tyrants.
Yeah.
You make people tyrants. That's exactly what is
because when they get blamed, they're not going to get blamed for it. No. That's what the administrative state does, John. Yeah. They don't get blamed for it, right? At the end of the day, it's the local decision.
And it's you literally have seen a internet meme of the administrative state because it's the Karen.
Yeah.
You know it's going to happen. Everybody knows one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all they're doing. They're punting it over there and blah blah blah, and everybody's gonna feel bad about their lives because the administrative state told you this and told you that. Nobody lives freely because nobody cares to challenge the system, and you're gonna get. And this is the thing: if you don't challenge the system, you're gonna get people like Dr. Fauci in your face all the time, telling you the most ridiculous stuff. He doesn't know anything.
It really is amazing.
Well, he knows how to fund gain of function
research, yeah.
Really good.
We're also going to link into our show notes, right?
He's really good at hanging out with Bill Gates, the master scientist of the world.
Really pathetic, too, that he went on CNN. I mean, we have a link to this Deadline.com article. We're not going to throw it up here, but we'll link it to our show notes.
Yeah.
That he basically went on CNN and basically said funding the Wuhan lab in China was necessary, John.
You mean
necessary?
Where the coronavirus came from?
Yes.
Okay.
It was necessary. And
the fact that he was involved in Event 201, which has Bill Gates' hand written all over it. It's necessary.
Yeah.
And it's not theory at this point.
No.
It came from a
laboratory.
Of biology.
Wuhan Institute of Virology, yes.
Yeah, Bill Maher even said it. So it's true.
John Stewart said it. It came from this lab. It's right here.
So we all know. We saw the logo. It's there. They were doing this. This is where it came from, right?
They probably have their own coronavirus department, for crying out loud, John.
Yeah. So he's saying it was imperative that we do this.
Yeah.
It was important to
well, $600,000, John. That's how much the research was for. I mean, to be perfectly honest, if you're going to do something that's necessary, you might as well throw $600,000 in American taxpayer dollars at it.
Yeah.
Just because.
Because it's okay. Because he can.
I guess he's a quack. I cannot. Oh my God, he's a quack.
He's the head of the numbers or letters that he says he's important.
It makes me also wonder too. You remember? I don't know if you saw this, but he was like, "Oh, I want to get ahead of the game now. I want to continue to make vaccines." And I'm thinking, it was like, "Well, we're evolving, and we're evolving with the virus, and the virus continues to evolve." Evolving to me means you are behind the times. You're not out in front of them.
Yes.
And he has been behind the times, woefully, ineptly behind the times.
He was called flat-footed.
Yeah.
He was called flat-footed.
That's being very kind. He
doesn't know anything about anything. Yeah. And you learn it really quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, none of them know anything about anything.
Well, and the fact that he's now using the buzzwords, the science. The science. I mean.
Thank you.
No. Because I have science on this side of the aisle here that is saying the masks, every time we wear them, does next to nothing in terms of overall protection.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is based on findings. That is based on people doing a scientific method in going in and figuring things out and observing what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
They are coming up with their conclusions. This is our conclusion. Why does he ignore this side of the science when the science on his side of the aisle is correct and we shouldn't assault it? And we should trust what this guy is saying. Sorry, don't buy it. Right? I mean, am I crazy or what? I mean,
I don't think you're crazy. Well, I think the world is crazy. So you might be, by proxy, you might be crazy, but I don't think you're crazy.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Maybe I'm going down a rabbit hole that I don't know.
We live in the rabbit hole at this point.
I know. I know.
What turned into two noobs talking? What turned into a catchphrase at the end of the show is so let's go further down this rabbit hole.
Oh boy.
That they talk about, which I love this. I love this piece, man.
Yeah, this Ronnie Jackson piece, right? I mean, this is an amazing piece here in thehill.com. Ronnie Jackson, former White House doctor, predicts Biden will resign.
Which is
and it is So it's basically Representative Ronnie Jackson, a Republican of Texas, your home state there, John. How about that?
Hell yeah.
The controversial, former White House physician. How would you like to be known as the controversial White House physician?
If we could figure out how I was the controversial one of us, I'd be so happy. We could make millions.
Oh, are you kidding me? You're the controversial one of the two of us. Come on.
Matt's more controversial than I am. But
I don't know about that. Said on Thursday, I think it was Thursday of last week, Ronnie Jackson said that he believed President Biden would resign because of his limited cognitive abilities. Donald Trump took a cognitive test. He got 30 out of 30 right. I hear it's a very difficult test. I do not think Joe Biden would do well on that test. Is that a fair assessment based on what I'm observing? Sean Hannity asked Jackson, which we're not a big fan of Sean Hannity, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Jackson said, quote, absolutely, Sean, and I've been saying this from the very beginning. I've been saying that something's going on here. I was saying this when he was candidate Joe Biden. I've been saying this, that he's only going to get worse. And guess what?
Okay.
We're watching that happen right before our eyes.
Oh, absolutely, we're watching that. Yeah. But I just want to go back to the ridiculousness of how Trump was covered with the 30
out of 30 cognitive.
He ran so many, like, because he's a cognitive human being. Like most of us would probably pass the test because we're cognitive.
Mm-hmm.
We're not. It's not to make fun of Biden. He's clearly not. He clearly does not have everything.
No.
Does he have some things? I've heard him speak where he made sense. I mean, not sense that I want to hear, but he made sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he's not all there at all. No. And it's a shame that whomever his handlers are, because all presidents have handlers. I'm sorry to break everybody's poor little heart if they think that the president is like the leader of the free world. No. There are a large group of money donors behind these people that are putting their will onto you. Yeah. That's what the president has become.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all know that we can look at one assassination and see where it changed because he wasn't playing that game.
Mm-hmm. JFK. Yep. Your boy. But yeah, I mean, I think about this. It's not just the cognitive ability, it's the physical.
Yeah.
You see him scramble up Air Force One and he's like tripping over himself.
Yeah.
I mean, you've never seen that out of a president.
God bless his soul. He's 78 years old, whether a scumbag or not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But I mean, the speeches to me, it's like, I think he gets, I don't know if it's his age. It could be. I've heard a lot of people say, well, this is the beginning of Alzheimer's.
Could be.
That essentially, like, because he can't form a sentence, people are ultimately worried that because he can't form a cognitive sentence anymore, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like, I've seen that with my relative. That's stage 1 Alzheimer's.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? The thing that I worry about, because he's a human, is the fact that he has his like catchphrases, and he always goes back to them.
Yes.
And that just take the local drunk guy in your bar.
Yep.
Tells the same story all the time.
All the time.
That's what I feel he's doing. Like, it's not a true representation of what he wants to say. It's almost like cue card reading and Joe Stick. Like, he's a used car salesman. He has this Joe Stick. Everybody knows Joe's stories because he's told them a million times.
Yeah.
Some of them are racist. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah. But I mean,
you elected him. He's there.
I
help people with that.
I piggyback off your point, John. I remember, to be a little personal here. My grandmother on my father's side of the family, she was in her late 90s when she ultimately passed. She suffered through Alzheimer's. And by around her late 70s, early 80s, the mind started to slip a little bit, where she was telling the same stories over and over again every time we would get with her. It would be like there was this story about this deer that she would love to see all the time, and the deer came prancing through this farmhouse, and it's like, well, wait, what's going on here? All the time, things like
Joe's saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it too. It's like, here's a guy. No one wanted the mean tweeter, and okay, that's a personal decision.
I get it.
But
I don't like him very much either, but I get it.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was almost like, there were better candidates than this guy. Much better candidates than this guy.
Yeah,
this worries me, John. This really does.
For him, he's a political figure, and everybody is free reign. Like, he should get the same abuse that Trump got.
No doubt.
Absolutely. You're a political figure. You ran up there. You know what I mean? You ran up there to be first in line. You should get run over. I have no issue with, because words don't hurt. The only time the words hurt is when they're real.
Oh, yeah. And they cut right to the quick. Yeah. My question to you is, I'll pose this to both of us. Do we think, or do you think, that President Biden, the inference in the article was that he will resign? Do you think he will?
I don't know if he will resign. I absolutely think that the political party
Will not
and I told
nominate
you
him.
this. I told you this even before we started this. With my political thoroughly of it is they wanted him to win because he's that go-getter. It's why his brother didn't run and he did, and his brother's been in his finances the whole time during this. This is what he just has, that it factor. He's likable even though you know he's a scumbag. He has that, whatever that is. I wish I had that. I wish I could make billions of dollars being a piece of garbage, but everybody liked me. When you look at me, I get less money and everybody doesn't like me when they see me. It's great. But he's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I think this was the plan all along. I don't think he's going to have a 4-year presidency. No way.
It's going to be interesting. Of course, I can't foresee the future. I think the article saying that he will resign. I don't think that happens. I don't think he steps.
It's the 25th Amendment. Nancy Pelosi has already did that during the Trump administration.
Yeah.
He invoked it's already invoked.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And they weren't doing it for Trump, because Trump would have held him up and he would have been president for 89 years because he would have held it up in court.
My only concern, and I'm just going to bring this up as a kind of a tangent point, my only concern is if the House flips, and more than likely it's going to. I'm going to put that out there. Saturday, July 31st, 2021. I think it will flip in November 2020.
I think it's almost 73. From what I'm seeing, it's like 73%. It's going to flip. They're going to have mass majority.
Do the Republicans attempt to impeach the guy?
Well, there already is an impeachment article out there.
Okay.
So they've already filed. He's already been impeached. It's the news doesn't cover it.
Is that right? Yeah.
Okay. So be impeached and be removed are two completely different things. Bill Clinton was an impeached president.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was a 2-time. He's like Conor McGregor. He likes to be. They were both impeached but never removed. So you can be impeached. I don't know the exact number of presidents. I did this research back when we've been friends for many years.
Oh, sure.
many years. Yeah. I did this research back. I think there's been a few. I don't know how many. I don't think Clinton's definitely not the first, and Trump won't be the last.
Oh, yeah.
There are senators and congressmen that don't like the president all the time, and they'll try to run. Yeah, he has it. If I can find it, I'll link it in the show notes. I know me and Matt have it somewhere in our files. There is an actual impeachment already started.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
Yes,
I was not aware.
I absolutely think if they get control, they're going to impeach him. they already started it.
That paperwork.
They already know they're going to get control.
Yeah. I mean, the way the House has been acting, the way the Senate's been acting, the way the people are just like, and I think that the insidious thing about all of this, people talk about systemic racism all the time, Johnny. Another side tangent point. You know what's systemically racist? This is an argument I heard. Inflation. And the idea is that there's so much money in the system now that there's a broadening gap from the earners to the non.
I was literally just having this conversation the other day.
Yeah. And the fact that gas prices now, I was just gassing up, it's like $3.30 something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's gone up easily, at least 30%.
It's $2.60. It's $2.68 in Texas right now.
Yeah.
And when I moved from PA to Texas, it was $2.60 in PA, and it was $1.75 when I first moved to Dallas.
Isn't that amazing?
And now it's like Texans are seeing it. And where do you think you get this fuel from?
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you think you get everything from?
We also don't have the technology for all these electric cars. We just don't. The electric cars run on coal, for crying out loud. Yeah. So it's like, that's an old.
That's another tangent for another time.
Oh my God.
I did have a great conversation that I'll cover later.
Yeah.
I just to bring it up before we get into this piece, because this is something I think leads very well into this.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really good friend. He was on Facebook.
Yep.
He posted something about CRT. Now, I don't want to talk about CRT, but I asked him a simple question because I was interested in which angle he was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really good conversation with two people. Now I have a new Facebook friend, and I'm super excited about it. We had a really good race conversation. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a CRT conversation. It was a race conversation because I wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned some things. Mm-hmm. And just the other day, I got all the kids together and my wife. After that, we finished the conversation. I was like, "Can I read this one thing that this gentleman, who I'm now friends with, said? And can we all think about it?" And they all, they were all super excited.
Got together, and yep.
Chance to learn. Why not? Like I'm the same way. Of course, the kids are going to be the same way. Mm-hmm. So I read it, and it was very impactful. And I will, with his permission, I do want to read it because I think it brings. It's a reason for people to come together and talk and have that tough conversation, and you feel good afterwards because I feel heard. He feels heard. Mm-hmm. The friend that started the conversation feels good because we were able to close a gap because there was misunderstanding there was misunderstanding of where this person is coming from or where I was coming from. Because I could have been viewed as the racist because I was like, I don't understand what you're saying. And 3 people were able to have a very decent conversation about race. And it made me feel really good because nobody's mad at anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the way this should happen. This brings into this article, not about race. This is about mask wearing and coronavirus. This is what worries me that the world's going to become.
No doubt. And this one really kind of ticked me off, being the open Christian that I am. Mm-hmm. Topic 4 here, talking about Pastor Greg Locke, who is part of a church called the Global Vision Bible Church in Tennessee. And as you can see on screen here, Newsweek article, Pastor Greg Locke vows to remove anyone wearing mask in church, blasts godless Democrats. And I thought, oh boy, here we go, Johnny.
I'm okay with blasting godless Democrats, but
they're your mission field. That's the only problem with that.
Yeah, no, that was a joke.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I didn't. But the article starts out, written by Benjamin Fearnell on July 25th, says here, right-wing pastor, and I love how he opens it because it's correct, right-wing pastor Greg Locke used his Sunday morning sermon.
But that also, that's up for debate too. That's the same thing with the black.
With left-wing pastor, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Stop labeling people.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Used his Sunday morning sermon to ridicule any attempt by the government to vaccinate Americans or enforce a round 2 of pandemic lockdown. He also declared he'll kick anyone out who wears a mask in his church.
And we literally will attack both sides at all times.
Oh, yeah, we're doing that right now.
This is just nonsensical. What? And this literally equates it just from the conversation I had. I'm bringing this up. This is why race doesn't get any better, and this is why coronavirus won't get any better. Because you have these numbnuts that are stuck on stupid all the time. Oh, they can't come in here. What about making people comfortable?
Yeah.
We're talking about Jesus. We're not talking about you. That's my biggest problem.
Thank you for saying that.
Why is it
all about you?
Wwhy is it about the pastor? Because that's exactly what he's doing. Why is that? It's about the church. It's about the people. If Auntie Anne needs to show up with a mask on, welcome her. Distance from her. Give her respect as a human.
Thank you.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
I hate people like this.
It gets. I'm right there with you.
I don't like to use the word hate, but I hate people like this that take a situation and cause their own.
Yeah.
They cause you trauma from their own narcissism.
When
you literally what they do.
Exactly. When you are trying to hear good news, relief and balm for your soul, you get this jackass who is basically saying this: I'm going to serve Frosties in hell before considering shutting down his church over recent spikes. Don't believe the Delta nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. If they want to go to round 2 and you start showing up with all these massive nonsense, I will ask you to leave. I will ask you to leave. I am not playing these Democrat games up in this church.
Why are you pushing people away?
Get this.
I understand like the bullshit. I understand what he's saying there, but he's taking that step over the line that is gonna turn it into the fight again.
No doubt. No doubt.
Because if you would just
because the people on the left are going to go, I'm not going to this guy's church because this guy is like, this is like every other Christian that I've met in my life.
Exactly. And as a leader, you could literally don't toe that line and go from I don't believe it because I don't believe in the bullshit. I'm not putting a mask back on. I'm literally not. I do not believe. It's so media. This Delta variant is so media driven. I get where he's coming from.
Oh, I do too.
100% of that.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. I've read it's bullshit.
Yep. 100% on that. No. I mean, it gets better, John, because he says this.
He could easily stopped right there, but then he goes this far.
He goes even further because this is unbelievable. This is the biggest problem with, I'm going to call it right now, and I've heard this phrase before, big evangelicalism, and I could not agree more because this is the biggest problem right now with the church in America. He says, quote, I don't need to be a jerk for Jesus, but I'm not going to cow down to a wicked, godless culture. Now, this is the big issue here. His problem is he's saying, I don't want to be a jerk. I don't need to be a jerk for Jesus. Jesus wasn't a jerk. Jesus was the greatest man who ever lived. He died, rose again. That's what he should be preaching from his pulpit every single Sunday.
Yeah.
What he is doing is that he is essentially allowing his political machinations and his sinful behavior to trump the good news that he is commanded to preach every Sunday. This is a guy, I want to make this very clear, this is a guy you avoid. This is a guy you get the hell out of his church if you're in there right now. And if you're going to that Global Vision Bible Church, that to me screams non-denomination. Get the hell out of there. That's a secret sense. You don't want to go there. If he is spouting this kind of behavior, you might have put him in the Republican National Committee. If he's saying this stuff, and even in the RNC, I think they'd throw him out, maybe.
He's preaching hate.
But he's 100% preaching hate.
I understand his stature, but he's still preaching hate. And that's,
absolutely.
And that's where that's where it all needs to stop.
That's where it needs to stop.
100%. It needs to stop. You can't have the if or they need or it you can't.
Yeah.
That's
or
bad.
I don't want to be a jerk for Jesus. What is that? What kind of sentence is that?
I
didn't realize Jesus was a jerk to people. I mean, come on. Get out of here with this. So, with all that,
a ton of things. I don't think I've ever heard him called a jerk. They called him a ton of things, though.
Can you believe that? I know. That just drives me crazy. So, I mean, I told you this in pre-production, too. I have, like, a Faith Over Fear t-shirt. My thought was, I go down to that church with that t-shirt on and wearing a mask. Then we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, but Matt wants to play fire with fire. And that is what I said to Matt was that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
It's that that's human nature. And until human nature changes, we're never going to make those absolutely bullshit theories that the media has that they can make ethical changes.
Yeah.
We can make them as individuals. We can't make them as masses.
Yeah.
Without doing heavy work.
Yeah, exactly. So what I've done, since I gave you an example of a church to avoid and a pastor to avoid, I thought I would take the liberty of listing out really my favorite pastors.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are people that I have either read or watched or listened to that are real sound in their biblical theology, real sound in what Christ was all about, real sound in terms of their overall ministry, will pray for their enemies, especially those that persecute them. And I have highlighted a few. I'm going to just quick share them on screen.
Please do.
So here for our audio listeners, you don't have the benefit of this, but just going to throw this up. on here, we've got everybody from John MacArthur. We've, of course, talked about him on this podcast before. Daryl Harrison is a good one. He runs Just Thinking podcast. Think Two Noobs, but he's much better at this. Basically, him and Virgil Walker, number 19 down there in that list. Both of those two guys are excellent. They mix a real good sense of politics with.
This is not in order other than the John MacArthur.
Exactly. Yeah, John MacArthur to me is number one. He's my hero. Anyway. Tom Askell, another good guy, Southern Baptist. J. Gretchen Machen, he was a pastor in the Presbyterian Church, knew his Bible very well. Vodi Bakum is a young guy. He's over in Zambia. He just had open heart surgery, actually came out of it.
I'll have to check him out. I never heard of him. That's one on the list I didn't know.
Vodi is terrific. He's very passionate, excellent. He does a real good discussion on CRT and also does a real explanation on the gospel. So he's really good, John. I
gotta check him out.
Gotta check him out. Kevin DeYoung, young pastor in the Presbyterian Church, excellent as well. So is Paul Washer. Phil Johnson works with John MacArthur in Grace Community Church. Todd Friel, he has his own Wretched podcast. It's Wretched. That's his. Nice. It's actually kind of comedic, but it's really good. Very biblically sound as well. Of course, we've covered James Coates in Canada. Tim Stevens is also a Canadian pastor. He was recently jailed, but did not complain about getting jailed. He was like, I'm looking at the stats in COVID. It's not bad. I'm going to hold church. The government arrested him anyway.
Yeah, what's going on in Canada is ridiculous.
Just ridiculous.
Okay.
Charles Spurgeon, terrific pastor, Baptist from the 1880s, 90s. He was British pastor. Excellent. Really, really good. Tim Chalice is, again, another pastor in Canada, in Toronto. Martin Lloyd-Jones was another theologian. I believe he was Britain as well. Al Mohler, Southern Baptist. He's head of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. Runs The Briefing, which is a daily podcast in Christian worldview. C.S. Lewis, of course, I've talked about on this podcast before, reading a couple of his books. He's excellent. Mere Christianity is a great read. R.C. Sproul is a gentle man, was fantastic, died a few years ago, was beloved by a lot of people. He runs Ligonier Ministries. If you ever get a chance, that's Ligoner, Ligonier. Jared Longshore, he's with Tom Askell. They're together, I believe, in a Baptist church in Florida. Also very good. Virgil Walker, I mentioned before, with Daryl Harrison. They do Just Thinking podcast. Francis Schaeffer, he died, I believe, in the 80s. He was also an excellent preacher as well, big into the youth. So those would be my collection of top 20 guys. Guys to really look into. And of course, you should also support your own pastor if you do go to church, if you're listening to this. If your guy doesn't spout off any politics, you're in a good church. If he's reading from the Bible, preaching from it, you're in a good church. But if you ever run across a pastor that is more geared towards the political machinations of the day, get the heck out of there. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Absolutely.
Bastard. Yeah.
Your point is absolutely dead on.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. We need to recognize these people.
And we have to call them out. And that's the thing. It's like, that's what we're doing here on this podcast. We're not going to be lay people, but Greg Locke should be avoided at all costs until he repents. 100%. I mean, that is an example of a guy you avoid because of the hatred that he is spewing out of his pulpit, which is ridiculous.
In the eyes of, in the disguise of faith and humanity. Spewing hate. And it's so hard and I understand why people can't see it. It took me a minute. I had to read the article twice to see what Matt was so mad about. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Okay. Yeah. Like what I said earlier. It didn't click at first because I was like, just some right-wing dude just doing right-wing things. And I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. He's totally using Jesus to shit on half the population. And that's not okay.
Voting somebody that doesn't agree with. Now we could talk politics, that's fine.
Yeah.
But not for the pulpit. Pulpit's totally separate.
Yeah, exactly. I have conversations, and I love to have conversations, and I look forward to having more conversations with left wing, right wing people. I love it. Yeah. That means because I learn from it, and you can learn from it. You can learn from what I know, and I can learn. Like me and Matt do not agree politically 100%. We're kind of like this. It's awesome. And then
that's right. But that's a great example. Yeah.
Yeah, you could, because sometimes I go way left and sometimes I go way right. And sometimes Matt goes way left and I'm way right. And it's like, that's kind of why we do this. Because
it's a real good, because we try and think about it. I think that's the ultimate
we just
thing.
Always try to come back together. And none of it, at the end of the day, two noobs or anything, me and Matt are still going to be friends 20 years from now.
100%.
We've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, exactly. We've been friends for what, 25 years? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
you knew me before I had kids.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, exactly. I can't believe. No, I'm kidding. No, it's great. It's great. But I think there is a revolution happening. It's probably just under the pulse of the radar, Johnny. I don't know about you, but
I absolutely.
We found this clip, right? Let's go on to this topic number 5. This guy, Mark Robinson, in Greensboro, North Carolina. I love that by Justin Roberts whenever he does that. We're going to
give this man the full screen so we can stretch a little bit where you guys.
No doubt about it. So I'm going to just pop this up. Just bear with us, and here we go.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes. I didn't have time to.
You have to give us your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Mark Robinson. I live. That's right here in Greensboro. Lived in Greensboro all my life. I didn't have time to write a fancy speech. I didn't have time to. I didn't have the resource of an English teacher to sit down and write a speech with at school today and be brought over here or practice or anything. What I really came down here for is this. I've heard a whole lot of people in here talking tonight about this group and that group and domestic violence and blacks, these minorities and that minority. What I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody, never committed a serious crime, never committed a felony. I've never done anything like that. But it seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. You want to turn around and restrict my right, constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight. It's ridiculous. I don't think Rod Serling could come up with a better script. It does not make any sense. The law-abiding citizens of this community and many communities around this country, we're the first ones taxed and the last ones considered and the first ones punished when things like this happens, because our rights are the ones that are being taken away. That's the reason why I came down here today. Gun show or no gun show, NRA or no NRA. I'm here to stand up for the law-abiding citizens of this community, because I'm going to tell you that what's going to happen. You can take the guns away from us all you want to. You all write a law, I follow the law, I'll bring my guns down here, I'll turn them in. But here's what's going to happen. The Crips and the Bloods on the other side of town, they're not going to turn their guns in. They're going to hold on to them. And what's going to happen when you have to send the police down there to go take them? The police can barely enforce the law as it is. As what I see, we demonize the police, criminalize and vilify the police, and we make the criminals into victims. And we're talking about restricting guns? How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that when the police department's already hamstrung? You're not going to be able to go down here and take these guns from these criminals. So the criminals are going to hold on to their guns. They're still going to have them. They're still going to break in my house, and they're still going to shoot me with them. And guess who's going to be the one that suffers? It's going to be me. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight, it is not going to happen without a fight. And when I say fight, I don't mean shots fired. I don't mean fists thrown. I mean I'm going to come down here to this city council and raise hell just like these loonies from the left do until you listen to the majority of the people in this city. And I am the majority. The majority of the people in this city are law-abiding, and they follow the law, and they want their constitutional right to be able to bear arms. They want to be able to go to the gun show and buy a hunting rifle or sport rifle. There are no military-grade weapons sold at the gun show. An AR-15 is not a military-grade weapon. Anybody that would go into combat with an AR-15 is a fool. It's a semi-automatic .22 rifle. You'd be killed in 15 minutes in combat with that thing. So we need to dispel all these myths, and we need to drop all this division that we got going on here. Because the bottom line is, when that Second Amendment was written, whether the framers liked it or not, they wrote it for everybody. And I am everybody. And the law-abiding citizens of this city are everybody. And we want our rights, and we want to keep our rights. And by God, we're going to keep them, come hell or high water.
Well,
you're damn right.
Yeah.
We need more of that.
Yeah.
He is 100%. There's nothing I disagree with what he said.
First one's taxed, last one's protected.
Yep.
Essentially, right, Johnny? I
mean, exactly.
That in itself is a compelling argument. Scary one, but also very compelling. And it's like that should really. I hope that city council went, whoa, okay.
He's telling the truth, and that's the one thing that the media doesn't do.
Yeah.
If you know the truth, like we all are law-abiding citizens. We're not gonna break that's how these governors got to us with coronavirus. We're not gonna break the law.
Yeah.
Majority of us are we just want to live. Steve said it on the podcast. I just want to be left alone and do my thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're all like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to you're gonna start taking rights
get
away.
over my sicknesses and all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Exactly. But it comes when the city councils and even the idiot president, and even Nancy Pelosi, they want to start taking rights away. That's where we're bigger than them.
Oh,
that's where we need to step up. And hell no.
No.
I don't care what your theory is.
Not just that.
Hell
no.
Yeah, no way. We want to get it back to leave us alone.
Exactly.
You can have your government pension, job,
whatever.
Yeah. Don't pick on us.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're going to hold you to account. And, and that's the thing. You can't get into, I guess what my argument is, you can't get into the fear porn.
No.
Of all of the, oh my God, Eddie's shooting. Oh my God. It's like, oh, good grief. Okay.
Yeah. But if you have the time, the intelligence of that man, it's time to step up, I think, in every city across the country and have those tough conversations.
No doubt.
Because if not, they're going to be taken.
Yeah, and you can't fault him at all for that wonderful argument, because it's like, and I love his humility at the beginning. It's like, I didn't come down here with a carefully crafted speech. I'm just speaking right from my heart, my soul, my mind, essentially. And you just,
I hate that he used the division loony left, but
yeah,
I get it. Yeah. We're not going to get, because in my utopia of a world, you know what I mean, we would all get along. But
sure.
I know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that's not good, but he literally, I thought it was impactful.
Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that at all. Well, speaking of impactful, Johnny, we've also got our happy segment, and it's a really, really good clip here. It's a 100-year-old woman who did an amazing thing. It's a Navy widow, so I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen one more time and just play this clip. Here we go.
Thank you.
A historic flight for a local veteran. This is the story you got to hear. Today was the 100th birthday of Ima Black. Now, she is the widow of the first Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy ever, Delbert C. Black. She said she wanted to ride in a helicopter. That was her wish for her 100th birthday. Look at that smile on her face. So she did. She went with the Mayport Helicopter Squadron. She got a special plaque honoring her for her occasion. Look at her all in the helmet. She's good to go. Ima's husband served in Pearl Harbor, and she herself served in World War II. Today, she was honored aboard the ship named after her late husband, so we want to say happy birthday, Ima. And thanks to all you folks in the military making it a special day for her. That's just awesome.
Oh, and she looks great for her age. Happy birthday.
So there you go, Johnny.
Yeah.
100 years old. We had
the first
early days of the podcast, we had a 100-year-old jump out of an airplane. She chose to stay in the airplane this time.
She took the helicopter to check. The rest of that story they didn't cover on the news, because I love the news when they cut stuff short. Yeah. She actually got to fly around the ship.
Yeah.
that was named after her late husband.
Named after her late husband, yeah.
And the fact that she served. I didn't know that. That was cool that they threw that in. She served in World War II, so God bless her twice.
Yeah.
Married to a Navy man, was a Navy woman. Awesome.
Can't ask for any better than that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's just awesome.
Happy
and
birthday.
The beaming smile on her face was, I mean, that.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, that's it. Wraps up episode 44 of Two Noobs Talking, brother. We got another one in the can. Hard to believe, but let's hit up our socials, shall we?
During the video, I threw my show notes out just so everybody knows.
Nice. So, shameless plugs. Where can people find us, brother?
Well, we are occasionally on Facebook. We are starting, now that Matt's editing, we're going to start getting back into that TikTok clapper, Instagram groove. We meet more about editing, so we're going to get more out there. I actually, a really good friend of mine was wondering when we were going to bring that back because they really like the clips to check it out.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to get into that. So TikTok clapper, Instagram, Facebook, that just little short videos, minute to 3 minutes, TikTok being 3 minutes.
Yep.
Will lead us straight to
our YouTube channel. And of course, love it if you would like, share, and subscribe. Again, 3 little words.
Yep.
But wonderful for us, and we would love it if you would share the videos as well. All the way back to episode 1, I'm not even sure about episode 1, but anyway.
Yeah, we were saying good things.
Our entire library is there. Yeah, exactly. Including, we had, I think it was episode 42 that all of a sudden exploded. We must have hit some sort of wonderful algorithm. So we'll take it. We love it. We absolutely love it.
We tried to figure it out. Over 700 and some views.
I'll take it, Johnny. I'll take it. But on the audio side, we love our audio listeners.
Yes. We are hosted by Podbean, which is a great app. So we'll definitely throw that up on the screen. Puts us to Apple, Spotify. I hate Spotify, but we're on it. iHeartRadio. Some things I can't pronounce.
Mine is Lav.
And Google, and Google Podcast. And you can also, my son just told me yesterday, you can search us on Google, Two Noobs Talking Podcast. We pop right up. It takes us to YouTube. It takes us to Apple. We are searchable now on Google. So
Damn.
We did it.
Look at that. We've hit the Google search. I love it. And of course, our show notes right here. They're found TwoNoobsTalking.wordpress.com. So if you go there and if you enter in your email address and hit that enter button, those show notes show in your inbox the very next day. Mm-hmm. So Johnny, that's it, my man. We've hit 44 episodes. Next one's going to be 45.
Yep.
It's in the can.
There you
Got
go.
anything final to say, brother?
How do you like the rabbit hole? Is it decorated or do we need to change it?
It might be a little dirty down here. I don't know.
Okay.
Talk to you all next week. Take care.
This country was founded by geniuses, but it's being run by a bunch of idiots. Why do the members of the United States Senate continue to double down on stupid?